right, you start then.
So we're talking about the theory of having alternative selves in like the multiverse or alternate parallel universes, and why that can feel how each of us has a frequency because we are only energy, so we are all frequencies. But depending on which of the universes you're in, what situation you're in, you will have a slightly different frequency, right?
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that, there's the multi-universe theory, that every single time you make a decision, the universe gets sliced like a piece of cheese and another version of you gets created, a version that didn't do the thing that you did do. So the idea behind...
One version had coffee this morning, the other didn't.
Yeah, right. So you'd hope that there'd be ones that were a bit more exciting than that. But
every decision
has a different frequency. So
one I'm much happier during the day, the other I'm not.
Sure. So the idea behind that is that when these alternate versions of yourself, like these pieces of cheese, get created, that each of that version has a different frequency, right? So the interesting thing is that you were saying it's so much more interesting and exciting to be like, hey, what if I could reach for that version of myself that did have coffee that morning, and embody that happiness and the jovialness, and find that frequency and that version of myself, right?
Yep.
Which is awesome but on the flip side of that, most coaches will tell you if somebody has something you want, then you need to do all of those things to be that person. That's that be, do, have.
Be, do, have.
Yeah,
it's
right.
It's also modeling. So Tony Robbins talks about modeling other people and modeling their qualities. So Richard Branson is, for some reason, he is always the example that gets used.
Why Richard Branson?
Because he came from nothing. Like, he made a magazine at school and then turned that into an empire, and then turned like recording music in a shed into an empire, and now he's got like 100 different companies that all do different things, right?
Yeah, right.
So everyone's like, all right, Richard Branson, what qualities does he have? He's confident, he takes risks, but he's all this sort of thing. And everyone's like, all right, well, I can just do the things that he does. I can have his qualities. And then if I channel my inner Richard Branson, then I'll build a life that Richard Branson would build in my situation.
Yeah,
that is modeling.
I always thought that was the weirdest advice ever, because I could
try and be someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't. And this is the problem that I find with most people on the table then, is that they believe that whatever they are is wrong because they've been told to model something that is the opposite of them. Oh, if I was just more confident, then I would be much more successful, right?
I'd be happier.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd have the perfect relationship or the perfect body or whatever.
Right. But this other idea is that there is a version of yourself that already has those qualities.
Yeah. So if there is a split in the universe for every decision you make and every decision that everybody else in the world makes, there are infinite versions of the universe, which means that there are infinite versions of every single one of us.
And it's much easier to reach for one of those versions because they are you, instead of reaching for some other version that's in...
of someone else.
Yeah. But okay, so on the flip side of this, right, that be, do, have actually does work if you're talking about, that stage 12 of healing of network spinal, which is community, which is that you understand that there is no separateness between me and Richard Branson because we're one, because we all share the same thing. See, now the problem with that is it does take a lot of energy.
It does.
Yeah, and you have to be super energy rich to be able to understand that I am not separate from Richard Branson. Ergo, I could still do what Richard Branson does because he and I are
one.
The same. Yeah, exactly. We're like two parts of the same cell. So
it also means that you have to really bring up that massive amount of inner zen to be able to go, I am one.
Do you though?
Let go of ego. Ego is not real.
Yeah, 100%. And that is exactly, I mean, that's the point right there, is that when we are one with divinity, we understand that we are one with everything. But you're right, as humans, the ego gets in the way of that. And that's the ego's, that's the ego's job. The ego its job is to keep you separate and to keep you functioning in the world as a human. So you're right. If you can get rid of all of your humanness, then you probably...
I can also be a frog. But here's the thing. So when people all got lots of people who say, I can't meditate because my mind won't shut up.
Well, that's
the ego, right?
Yeah.
So it's the ego stopping you from
being
one with the universe, and that's the problem.
Well, the funny thing is with the ego is that it was developed to keep you part of the tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now it keeps you separate from the tribe as well and gives you identity.
Which brings us to the multiverse
back
theory.
again.
All right. So if it's hard to model someone else because they are separate from ourselves, modeling Richard Branson, I can put on a false air of confidence and not give a fuckness as much as I want, but it takes that energy richness.
Yeah.
But
it's a super egoic view of it as well.
But it is a whole lot easier to connect with yourself from a different version of the universe.
Again, and it's also much more egoic.
Because the ego is going to accept, all right, different version of myself, but still myself. So you're going to be able to accept that frequency within yourself so much more smoothly and with a whole lot less resistance.
So it's a way we can use the ego and placate the ego and use that humanness to get what we want.
Exactly.